Welcome to the Sports Betting Preview Show, a pregame.com podcast. This is segment 3. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo, joined with Vegas Runner. We're going to take a look. Game 7, Boston Celtics, LA Lakers. It doesn't get any better than this. It is Wednesday. We're taping the day before Game 7. We just witnessed the total annihilation in Game 6 by the LA Lakers. VR, watching the game last night, what were your thoughts as the game was unfolding, and were you already rapidly thinking about Game 7?
Yeah, I think I was because, to be honest with you, that's exactly the type of game that I expected. What we've seen throughout this series is this. Only one team is bringing it each night, the intensity. We have not yet seen a game where both teams are bringing 100% intensity for all 48 minutes. Lakers brought it in Game 1. They didn't in Game 2. They brought it in Game 3. They didn't in Game 4. You know, and Boston brought it in Game 5. They didn't in Game 6. We have not seen both teams bring it. And yesterday from the onset, you knew Lakers set the tone that they were bringing it. And by halftime, you knew Boston had given up. And nothing supports that fact more than Doc Rivers, when questioned, is your team going to be able to get over being beaten down that badly in a 48-hour period with only one day in between? And his response was, we were already starting to get over it after halftime, as if there was no one on our bench who it was thinking we're going to win Game 6. They were already themselves looking ahead to Game 7. So I was as well. I mean, and it was just a matter of playing out the minutes after that. LA dominated, and when Kendrick Perkins went down, I mean, people don't understand. You're not going to get points out of this guy. That's not why he's on the floor. He's on the floor because he's one of the top five centers, if not top 3, in all of the NBA. He leads the Lakers in rebounds, blocks, and field goal percentage. Yeah. Lakers need to dominate the paint. They need to dominate the boards with their size. They have not won or covered a game in the last 10 to 15 that they haven't won the rebounding battle in these playoffs. So when Perkins went down, that more or less put the nail in the coffin as far as Game 6 is concerned, because it takes Boston out of their rhythm, out of their game plan, and now you have at least a day to know he's not going to play. They're saying he's doubtful. Anyone that knows about that type of injury says it's going to be extremely hard for him to play. Most likely he will not be on there.
But he won't have the mobility.
No, but they have a day to at least plan. Yesterday, I mean, when they took over for him, it was 0 points. Right. His replacement did nothing. Sheldon Williams, 0 points. I mean, the bench did nothing. 0 points. So, that was, you knew what was going to happen by halftime. It was just a matter of, like I said, the clock expiring.
The Celtic bench did absolutely 0 yesterday, and they had outscored the Laker bench in every game so far, but last night, just total reversal. Now, in watching the game on my side of it, and again, when you're watching these games, you got to watch. You can't have blinders on. You can't get wrapped up
and bias
based on what you've got going in that game. I agree with you 100%. You saw it from the very first loose ball, where you see guys running and diving on the hard court to get a loose ball. I mean, the Lakers were a half a step faster to every loose ball last night. They were laying it off, and they were the team that was cornered, the rat in the cage, so to speak. It was win or it's done.
Yeah, and that's why I wasn't surprised they put out the highest number since then. Because in the series, because Boston's a veteran team. They know there's a Game 7. They're an older team. You're not going to give all your energy when you find yourself down 18 points to try to make a monumental comeback. You already have to prepare yourself for the next game. So this, if anything, who's going to benefit from that? Because the Lakers didn't have to give 48 minutes of effort yesterday. Bynum isn't going to have that swollen knee because the guy played 12, 15 minutes.
Right.
So he didn't exert
They were icing him down in the second half.
Exactly. So here's a team that, the Lakers, even though they gave so much effort early, they didn't have to keep that intensity to whole 48 to say they're shot now. That's why this Game 7 is so interesting, and why I think we're going to finally see a game in this series where both teams bring 100% from start to finish.
There's nothing left.
And we're going to find out who's the better team. This is like a Super Bowl, an all or nothing. And looking at the line, they bring out 7. Nobody wants to come off that 7. So far, books, from what I'm hearing, getting that balanced money once again, like they have all series.
Every game except, obviously because of the Lakers in a must win,
right.
you got more money. But it has been a very evenly bet series
Sure.
The whole way, except for the total.
Right.
And even though every game has gone under, just
the bettors
keep taking,
the over. And I don't think even they're doing it, Marco, because of the due. Because there's a lot of sharp bettors I know that like the over.
I like
guys like this
the over.
don't bet because something is due.
No. But what's happened in these games, and we talked about before we come on air, is both of these teams are capable of putting up 30-point quarters.
Yeah.
Up 30 points apiece, I'm talking.
Yeah.
Instead, we've had some quarters where they've put 35 combined.
Yeah. Look at the start of yesterday's game. Tell me that wasn't on pace for an over the first 6-8 minutes.
They've all been that way, where they come out of the gate, they're hitting everything in sight, and you say, okay, this thing is going to blow by the total. These guys are on fire. They're in a rhythm. And why would you take yourself out of that rhythm? If you're moving in transition, you're getting those open looks, with the outside shot, why
slow it down? Yeah.
But they do. They constantly do. And again, I think it keeps coming back to the fact, and if you look, and this has been the one thing that's been a constant for the Celtics, the ends of quarters throughout this series have been horrible for the Celtics.
Yeah.
They don't score. The end of the second quarter last night just sealed any opportunity.
Any chance
that they would have had of a run in the second half. They were stuck on 29 forever.
You know what's funny? When you look at any of the timeouts and they put the camera in the huddle, both coaches are saying the same thing. And intensity, you need to increase your intensity, guys. Kick it up a notch. That tells me this is no longer about the X's and O's. These two teams have met 13 times over the last 2 seasons. You're not going to come up with a play, I think, that's going to surprise the other team.
No,
you've already came up with every type of scheme on offense and defense against your opposition by the 13th game. You know what I mean? So now it does come down to intensity. And I think we've seen that throughout the series, that the team that is willing to bring it has won and covered. The point spread hasn't mattered. And that's what makes Game 7 so intriguing, because both teams are bringing it.
Right.
And we haven't had that yet.
All but one game in this entire series has seen the zigzag in full effect.
Game 5 changed that.
Game 5 changed that. And I know, I was on Boston in Game 5, and it was a game that I felt, because they won Game 4, but they won Game 4, and you've heard me say this phrase a million times. They won ugly. And the public,
they didn't dominate.
The public that's the game where the bench come in, he pulled the starters, and they were like,
Nate Robinson, Robin Conley.
They can't do that again. They needed a miracle from the bench to win that game.
Right.
And the public, went to the Lakers side, and I said, no, that ugly win will get the job done. So, you know what?
The starters are going to have to show up.
The starters are going to have to show up.
Boston needs KG. Lakers are going to need Kobe. I think they're going to shine, and they're going to need the rest of the supporting cast.
Hold that thought, because I'm going to cut you off. We're up against the break, but we got too much stuff to talk about. We're going
part 2.
We're playing 2 today, so we're going to have part 2 of Game 7. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with another segment on the Lakers Celtics Game 7.